Hey there, you're looking kind of cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out all my other socials. Enjoy. The digital chime rang over and over. The sound made Jamie feel cold and afraid. It played a message. Account terminated, access revoked. Jamie stared at the screen, shocked by the words. The laptop's light showed the truth in the dark room. Years of hard work were gone in a second. The startup, which Jamie had created, had lost everything. The small studio was quiet now. It felt strange and empty. Jamie's hands shook as he touched his blonde hair. Pizza boxes were everywhere, showing he had spent many long nights working. Bills covered his desk, each with red stamps. On top was the eviction notice he tried not to look at. The big letters told him the deadline was close. His phone buzzed. Rachel. Did you see the news about tech ventures? His sister's voice carried that careful tone she used when delivering bad news. Which part? The bankruptcy or the fraud investigation? Both. They're saying anyone associated with their portfolio companies won't find work in tech for years. Jamie, I'm so sorry. He closed his eyes. Tech Ventures had been his primary investor. Now their scandal would drag him down too, guilty by association. His name was poison in Silicon Valley. I'll figure something out. Actually, Rachel paused. My firm has an opening, reception desk. The pay's decent, full benefits. I'll take anything at this point. There's one problem. They have a strict policy. They only hire women for front-facing positions. Some outdated idea about company image. The silence stretched between them. Jamie stared at his reflection in the black laptop screen. Desperation clawed at his chest. What are you saying? I'm saying I wear a size 6 in heels, and my spare clothes are in storage. You're thin enough. We're the same height. Rachel, that's insane. Is it? You need money. They need someone who can handle difficult clients and manage schedules. You ran a tech company. You can answer phones. 3 days later, Jamie stood in Rachel's bedroom, staring at the clothes laid out on her bed. Gray blazer, crisp and professional, black pencil skirt that would hit just above the knee, a cream silk blouse with pearl buttons. The interview's tomorrow at 9. Rachel held up a pair of black pumps. These might be tight, but they'll work. I can't believe I'm doing this. Desperate times. She pulled out a makeup bag. Sit, we need to practice. The foundation felt strange on his skin, cool and smooth. Rachel worked with practiced efficiency, contouring his face, adding subtle color to his cheeks and lips. When she finished, he hardly recognized himself in the mirror. Your bone structure's actually perfect for this. She stepped back, appraising her work. Now the hair. She produced a blonde wig, longer than his natural hair, but still professional. It fell just past his shoulders in soft waves. Where did you even get this? Halloween, 2 years ago. I went as Reese Witherspoon in Legally Blonde. She adjusted it carefully, securing it with pins. There. Stand up. The heels took practice. He wobbled at first, catching himself on the dresser. Rachel coached him through it. Smaller steps, weight on the balls of his feet, shoulders back. What about my voice? Speak softer, from your throat rather than your chest. You don't need to go high, just lighter. They practiced for hours, walking, sitting with legs crossed, the proper way to smooth the skirt when standing. By midnight, Jamie moved with something approaching confidence. One more thing. Rachel handed him a driver's license. My friend works at the DMV. This is temporary just for the interview. The name's Daniela Morrison. Daniela? Close enough to Daniel that you'll respond to it. Different enough that it won't flag in their system when they check references. The next morning, Daniela Morrison arrived at Patterson & Associates 15 minutes early. The gray blazer fit perfectly over the cream blouse. The black skirt forced her to take measured steps, and the heels clicked against the marble lobby floor. I'm here for the 9 o'clock interview. Her voice came out steady, pitched just right. The security guard barely glanced up. 12th floor, ask for Mrs. Patterson. The elevator ride felt eternal. Daniela checked her reflection in the polished doors, lipstick still perfect, not a hair out of place. The blonde waves framed her face naturally. Mrs. Patterson turned out to be a severe woman in her 60s, steel gray hair pulled back in a bun. She looked Daniela up and down with sharp eyes. "Ms. Morrison, your resume's interesting. Tech background, but no legal experience? I managed client relations and scheduling for a startup. Different industry, same skills. Why the career change?" Daniela had practiced this answer. "The tech world wasn't the right fit. I want something more stable, more structured." The interview lasted an hour. Questions about multitasking, handling difficult people, organizing calendars. Daniela drew on 3 years of managing investors and engineers, translating the experience into receptionist terms. "When can you start?" "Monday, if that works." Mrs. Patterson smiled for the first time. "Monday it is. Linda will show you out and give you the paperwork." Walking out of the building, Daniela felt something she hadn't expected: relief. Not just at getting the job, but something deeper. The clothes didn't feel like a costume anymore. They felt right. That weekend, Rachel helped her shop. More blazers, gray, navy, black. Skirts in various lengths, all professional. Blouses in cream, white, soft pink. A proper pair of heels that actually fit. "You're taking to this surprisingly well." Rachel held up a pink blouse against Daniela's chest. "It's just temporary, until I can find something else." But even as she said it, Daniela knew it wasn't true. Something had shifted during that interview. The way Mrs. Patterson had seen her, spoken to her, as Daniela, not as Jamie playing dress-up. It felt like coming home to a house she'd never known existed. Monday morning arrived gray and drizzling. Daniela chose the navy blazer over a white blouse, paired with the black skirt. The commute felt different from her old life. Men stepped aside to let her exit the subway, held doors without thinking. The reception desk at Patterson & Associates commanded the entire floor. Marble and chrome, with 3 computer monitors and a phone system that looked like it belonged in a spaceship. "You must be Daniela." Linda from HR appeared with an armload of papers. "Let's get you set up." The first week passed in a blur of names and extensions. Daniela memorized the coffee orders of all 12 partners, learned which clients needed immediate attention and which could wait. Her fingers flew over the keyboard, scheduling depositions and court dates with the same precision she'd once used for product launches. "Daniela, can you handle the Morrison settlement?" Mr. Patterson stopped by her desk Friday afternoon. "They're difficult." "Of course." The Morrison clients arrived angry and stayed that way for 2 hours. Daniela kept her voice calm, offered them coffee, validated their concerns while keeping them from storming the partners' offices. By the time they left, they were shaking her hand and thanking her. "Impressive." Mrs. Patterson had been watching from her office doorway. "Jamie was right about your skills." Daniela's heart stopped. "Jamie?" "Your reference. He spoke very highly of you." Rachel. Of course she'd covered that base. Daniela forced a smile. "He's always been supportive." Weeks turned into months. The blonde wig became as routine as brushing her teeth. Daniela developed her own style within the dress code. She preferred the pink blouses, found they complemented her complexion. The other receptionists invited her to lunch, gossiping about clients and sharing makeup tips. "Your skin's so clear." Maria from accounting touched Daniela's cheek. "What's your secret?" "Good genes, I guess." But it wasn't just genes. Living as Daniela had changed something fundamental. The stress lines that had marked Jamie's face softened. She smiled more, laughed easier. Even Rachel noticed. "You look happy." They sat in Rachel's kitchen on a Sunday, painting their nails. "Happier than I've seen you in years." "The job's good, stable." "It's not just the job." Rachel chose a deep red polish. "You're different, more yourself." Daniela concentrated on applying pink polish to her thumbnail. The truth sat heavy in her chest, words she hadn't even admitted to herself yet. 3 months into the job, disaster struck. Daniela woke with a splitting headache, the kind that made her vision blur. She powered through, arrived at work in her gray blazer and cream blouse, but in the bathroom mirror she saw the problem. The wig had shifted slightly, revealing a line of her natural hair underneath. Panic flooded her system. She adjusted it quickly, but the damage was done. What if someone had noticed? What if they all knew? "Daniela?" Linda knocked on the bathroom door. "Mrs. Patterson needs you." Heart racing, Daniela walked to the senior partner's office. This was it. They'd figured it out. She'd be fired, blacklisted from another industry. "Sit." Mrs. Patterson gestured to a chair. "I wanted to discuss your performance." Here it came. "You've exceeded every expectation. The partners have noticed. We'd like to offer you a permanent position with a substantial raise." What? "You've brought a level of professionalism we've been missing. Clients specifically request to speak with you. You've turned our reception area into a model of efficiency." "Thank you, I accept." Mrs. Patterson smiled. "There's one more thing. The firm covers transition-related health care in our benefits package. I noticed you haven't enrolled." The words hung in the air. Daniela's mouth went dry. "I'm not sure what you mean." "My dear, I've practiced law for 40 years. I know when someone's hiding something." Mrs. Patterson's voice gentled. "I also know courage when I see it. Whatever your journey, you're safe here." Tears pricked Daniela's eyes. She'd been seen, really seen, and not rejected. "I didn't know how to." "Start where you're comfortable. Our insurance covers therapy, hormones, whatever you need. HR has resources." Walking out of that office, Daniela felt the last walls crumble. This wasn't temporary. This wasn't pretend. This was who she was meant to be. That night, she sat with Rachel and told her everything. About the job offer, the health care, the growing certainty that Jamie had been the costume, and Daniela was real. "I knew." Rachel hugged her tight. "The moment I saw you in that first interview outfit, I knew." "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because you needed to figure it out yourself, but I'm so proud of you." The next Monday, Daniela made an appointment with the therapist on the firm's referral list. Dr. Santos had a quiet office with soft lighting and no judgment in her eyes. "Tell me why you're here." "I've been living as a woman for 4 months. At first it was just for a job, but now I can't imagine going back. I don't want to go back." "And how does that feel?" "Terrifying and right. More right than anything's ever felt." They talked for an hour about identity, about the difference between performance and truth. By the end, Daniela had a referral to an endocrinologist and a plan for moving forward. The hormones started subtle, skin softening, emotions flowing easier. Daniela found herself crying at commercials, laughing harder at jokes. Her body began to shift in small ways, fat redistributing, features gentling. 6 months into transition, she decided it was time. The wig had served its purpose, but her natural hair had grown. She'd been taking biotin using special shampoos. It reached just past her chin now, still blonde, still her. "You sure?" Her hairstylist, recommended by Maria, ran fingers through Daniela's hair. "I'm sure." The cut was simple, shaping what had grown, adding layers for movement. When she looked in the mirror, Daniela saw herself clearly for the first time. No wig, no pretense, just her. The next day at work, she wore her favorite outfit, the gray blazer over a pink blouse, the black skirt that fit perfectly now that her hips had begun to fill out. Her natural blonde hair caught the light from the windows. "Your hair!" Maria gasped. "It's gorgeous! Did you get extensions?" "Just decided to go natural." "It suits you better, more you." The legal name change happened on a Tuesday. Daniela stood before a judge in a courthouse downtown, Rachel by her side for support. The proceeding took 5 minutes. "Is Daniela Morrison the name you've chosen of your own free will?" "Yes, Your Honor." "Then it is so ordered." Walking out with the official papers, Daniela felt the last piece click into place. No more pretending, no more temporary measures. She was legally, officially, completely herself. The firm threw a small party, nothing elaborate, cake in the break room, champagne at lunch. Mr. Patterson made a toast. "To Daniela, who keeps us all in line and makes it look easy." She wore the navy blazer that day, over a cream silk blouse she'd bought with her first paycheck at the raised salary. Her blonde hair had grown to shoulder length, styled in soft waves that moved when she laughed. 1 year. That's all it had taken. 1 year from the ashes of Jamie's failed startup to Daniela's successful life. She had an apartment now, small but hers, decorated in soft colors and living plants. She had friends who knew her only as Daniela, who had never questioned her right to exist as herself. Any regrets? Rachel asked over dinner, celebrating the anniversary of that first desperate phone call. Daniela considered the question. The tech world seemed like another lifetime. The stress, the constant performance of masculinity, the feeling of wearing a skin that never quite fit. All distant memories. Just one. What's that? That it took losing everything to find myself. Maybe that's how it had to happen. Maybe you needed to be empty before you could fill yourself with truth. The waiter brought their dessert, chocolate cake with 2 forks. Daniela smoothed her black skirt as she adjusted in her seat, a gesture that had become second nature. The partners are talking about promoting me. She took a bite of cake. Office manager, more responsibility, better pay. That's amazing, you deserve it. A year ago, I couldn't have imagined any of this. A year ago, you were a different person. And that was the truth of it. Jamie felt like someone she'd known once, a distant acquaintance whose face had grown fuzzy with time. Daniela was who she'd always been underneath, waiting for the right moment to emerge. Her phone buzzed. A text from Maria about drinks after work tomorrow. Another from Linda about a new client orientation. Normal life things, her life things. You know what the best part is? Daniela met her sister's eyes. I'm not afraid anymore, not of being discovered, not of being rejected. I'm just me. And you're magnificent. The walk home took her past the building where Jamie's startup had crashed and burned. She barely glanced at it. That failure had been the greatest gift. It had stripped away everything false, left her with only the truth of who she needed to become. In her apartment, Daniela hung up the gray blazer carefully. Tomorrow she'd wear the navy one, with the pink blouse that brought out the warmth in her skin. Her blonde hair would catch the morning light on the subway. The partners would rely on her efficiency. The clients would appreciate her calm competence. She'd built a life that fit, stitch by stitch, day by day. Not the life she'd planned, but the one she was meant to live. The hormones were rewriting her body to match her truth. The legal system recognized her chosen name, but most importantly, she recognized herself. The woman in the mirror smiled back at her, blonde hair framing a face that had found peace, wearing the comfortable pajamas she'd bought to replace Jamie's old t-shirts. This was who she'd always been, waiting beneath the surface for the right catastrophe to set her free. Daniela Morrison went to bed grateful for failures that became beginnings, for sisters who saw truth before it was spoken, for jobs that required transformation and ended up revealing authenticity. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new clients, new moments of living genuinely in her skin. But tonight, she was simply, completely, permanently herself. The morning sun streamed through her bedroom window, landing on the work clothes she'd laid out the night before. The pink blouse seemed to glow in the light. Another day at Patterson and Associates awaited. Another day of being Daniela. She dressed carefully, each piece of clothing an affirmation. The blouse slipped over her shoulders like silk water. The black skirt zipped smoothly over hips that curved just right. The blazer completed the ensemble, professional, feminine, hers. At the office, the familiar routine welcomed her. Coffee orders to manage, schedules to coordinate, clients to soothe. But between the tasks, moments of pure joy. Maria complimenting her earrings, Linda asking for advice about a difficult deposition schedule, Mr. Patterson personally thanking her for handling a crisis with grace. Daniela, could you train the new hire next week? Mrs. Patterson stopped by the reception desk. I want them to learn from the best. Of course. Teaching someone else the job felt like coming full circle. Daniela prepared training materials, organized orientation schedules. She'd create a comprehensive guide, not just for the technical aspects, but for the heart of the position. How to read clients' moods, when to offer coffee versus water, the art of keeping partners on schedule without seeming pushy. The new hire turned out to be a recent college graduate, nervous and eager. Daniela saw herself a year ago, desperate for stability, willing to do whatever it took to survive. But where she'd found transformation, this young woman just needed a chance. The key is staying calm. Daniela demonstrated the phone system. Even when 3 lines are ringing and someone's having a meltdown in the lobby, you stay calm. You make it look so easy. Practice, and remembering that everyone who walks through that door is fighting their own battles. A little kindness goes a long way. Training the new receptionist gave Daniela time to reflect on her journey. Each explanation of office procedures reminded her how far she'd come. The terrified person who'd first sat at this desk in borrowed clothes had evolved into a confident professional who owned every aspect of her presentation. "How long have you worked here?" the new hire asked during a break. "Just over a year. You seem like you've been here forever, like you were born for this job." Born for it. In a way, she had been. Daniela Morrison had been born in this building, created from necessity but sustained by truth. The weeks passed with comfortable rhythm. Her hair grew longer, now reaching the middle of her back. She experimented with different styles. Braids for busy court days, loose waves for client meetings. The blonde caught different shades of light throughout the day, from honey gold in the morning to ash in the fluorescent evening glow. "I love your hair," a client commented while waiting for her appointment. "Is that your natural color?" "Yes, just blessed with good genes." No mention of the months of careful growing, the vitamins, the deep conditioning treatments. Just simple truth. This was her hair, her color, her choice. The hormone therapy continued its quiet work. Her face softened more, cheekbones becoming prominent in a way that made makeup almost unnecessary. She still wore it. Foundation to even skin tone, mascara to enhance already long lashes, lip gloss in subtle pinks that matched her beloved blouses. "Daniela," Dr. Santos smiled during their monthly session. "You're glowing." "I feel good, really good." "Tell me about that." "Yesterday, I handled a crisis with the Morrison settlement. Remember them? The difficult clients. They specifically requested me to mediate a dispute. Mrs. Patterson said I have a gift for de-escalation." "How did that make you feel?" "Proud, competent, like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." "And personally, outside of work?" Daniela considered. Her life had expanded beyond the office. Drinks with Maria had become a weekly tradition. She'd joined a book club that met in a coffee shop downtown. Last weekend, she'd gone shopping alone, not for necessity but for joy, trying on dresses she might wear to the firm's holiday party. "I'm building something, a life that's mine." "No longer temporary?" "Nothing about this is temporary." The legal documents proved that. Daniela Morrison on her driver's license, her bank accounts, her lease, the health insurance that covered her hormones and therapy, the wardrobe that had expanded beyond professional wear to include casual clothes for weekends, gym wear for the yoga classes she'd started taking. Any thoughts about surgery? Maybe someday. Right now, hormones are enough, I'm enough, and she was. The body dysphoria that had plagued Jamie had faded to manageable levels. She'd learned to dress in ways that felt affirming, to carry herself with confidence that made questions irrelevant. Her phone rang as she left therapy. "Rachel. Dinner tonight? I have news." They met at their usual place, a quiet restaurant between their apartments. Daniela wore jeans and a soft sweater, weekend clothes that felt as natural as her work attire. "You look happy?" Rachel raised her wine glass. "I am. What's your news?" "I made partner." "Rachel, that's incredible!" They toasted, laughing about how much had changed in a year, both of them climbing ladders they'd never expected to reach. "I owe you everything." Daniela reached across the table to squeeze her sister's hand. "You don't owe me anything. I just opened a door. You walked through it and built a whole new life. Still, if you hadn't suggested, then you would have found another way. Daniela was always going to emerge. Maybe not like this, but somehow." After dinner, they walked through the city. December had turned the air cold, and Daniela pulled her coat tighter. The gray wool complemented her work wardrobe, professional even in casual moments. "Remember last Christmas?" Rachel linked their arms. You were so scared someone would notice at the firm holiday party. And now I'm on the planning committee. The party was 2 weeks away. Daniela had spent hours organizing caterers, coordinating with HR on the venue. She'd bought a dress for the occasion, deep burgundy that complemented her skin tone, modest enough for a work event, but festive enough to celebrate. What about dating? Rachel asked suddenly. Any prospects? Daniela considered. There'd been moments, a client's lingering handshake, a prosecutor who always seemed to schedule meetings when she was at the desk, but dating felt complicated in ways she wasn't ready to navigate. Maybe next year. I'm still figuring out who I am on my own. Fair enough? Monday brought a surprise. Mrs. Patterson called her into the office first thing, Mr. Patterson already seated at the conference table. Daniela, we have a proposition. Mrs. Patterson gestured for her to sit. The office manager position we discussed, we'd like to modify it. Modify how? We want to create a new role, client relations manager. You'd still handle reception oversight, but you'd also be our primary interface for difficult clients. The Morrison settlement convinced us you have skills we've been wasting at the front desk. I'm honored. It comes with a significant salary increase and your own office. Are you interested? Her own office. A year ago, she'd been facing eviction. Now they were offering her a career path she'd never imagined. Yes, absolutely yes. The transition took a month. Training her replacement, setting up the new office, creating systems for client management. Daniela threw herself into the work with enthusiasm that surprised even her. Her new office had a window overlooking the city. She decorated simply, a few plants, a photo of her and Rachel from Thanksgiving. The same gray blazer that had seen her through the interview now hung on a hook behind the door, a reminder of how far she'd traveled. Client Relations Manager. Maria read the new nameplate. Fancy. Same me, just with more responsibility. But it wasn't the same her. The terrified person who'd first donned Rachel's clothes had evolved into a confident professional. The desperate act of survival had become authentic living. Her first major challenge came quickly. A merger between two firms had gone sideways, accusations flying. Both parties were Patterson clients, both demanding satisfaction. Daniela scheduled them for separate meetings, then a mediated session. She wore her navy blazer over a cream blouse, her blonde hair pulled back in a professional bun that showed off the earrings Rachel had given her for her birthday. Gentlemen, she kept her voice calm as they postured across the conference table. We're here to find solutions, not assign blame. 3 hours later, they had an agreement. Both parties shook her hand, thanking her for patience they'd never expected from lawyers. Brilliant work, Mr. Patterson had observed from the corner. You have a gift. Just doing my job. But it was more than that. She'd found purpose in bringing order from chaos, in being the calm center of legal storms. The skills that had kept Jamie's startup afloat translated perfectly to managing egos and expectations. Spring arrived with its own changes. Daniela's body had settled into its new configuration, softer curves, gentler angles. She'd developed her own style within professional boundaries. The pink blouses remained favorites, but she'd added jewel tones that made her skin glow. Her blonde hair had grown past her shoulders, healthy and thick. You're due for a promotion review. Linda from HR stopped by her office. Just a formality. Everyone knows you're exceeding expectations. The review came with another raise and expanded responsibilities. Daniela now managed a team of 3, overseeing all client relations for the firm. Her days filled with meetings, mediations, and the satisfaction of solving problems. One afternoon, while reviewing contracts, her computer pinged with a news alert. Tech Ventures had finally collapsed completely, taking several startups with it. She stared at the headline, waiting to feel something: regret, anger, vindication. Instead, gratitude washed over her. That failure had been a gift wrapped in disaster paper. Without it, she'd still be Jamie, still be performing a version of masculinity that had never fit, still be dying slowly in a life built on others' expectations. Knock, knock. Rachel appeared in her doorway. Lunch? They walked to their favorite spot, Daniela's heels clicking confidently on the sidewalk. She'd mastered the art of walking in them so completely that flats felt strange now. You saw the news? Rachel asked over salads. About tech ventures? Yeah. Any regrets? None. That life feels like a dream I had once, foggy and unreal. And this life? Daniela looked down at herself. The gray blazer she'd worn for courage, the pink blouse she'd chosen for joy, the black skirt that had once felt like a costume and now felt like home. This life is real. After lunch, she had a new client consultation, a woman going through a contentious divorce, scared and angry in equal measure. Daniela listened, offered tissues, validated her fears while explaining the firm's process. Thank you. The woman gripped her hands at the meeting's end. For treating me like a person, not just a case. That's what we do here. But it was what Daniela did specifically. She brought humanity to the legal process, remembered that behind every case was a person in crisis. Her own transformation had taught her that compassion could change everything. The firm's holiday party arrived again, marking 2 full years since that desperate first day. Daniela wore the burgundy dress she'd bought the previous year, but never had the confidence to wear. It fit perfectly now, hugging curves that hormones had carved. You look stunning. Maria appeared with 2 glasses of champagne. Thank you, you too. They watched the partners give speeches, toast another successful year. When Mrs. Patterson mentioned the exceptional work of their client relations team, specifically praising Daniela's leadership, the room applauded. It felt like a lifetime and an instant simultaneously. Every day had built on the last small choices, accumulating into transformation. The emergency decision to wear Rachel's clothes had become the foundation of an authentic life. Dance? One of the junior partners extended his hand. I don't really... Come on, one dance. She let him lead her onto the small dance floor. Her body moved naturally in the dress, no longer fighting against presentation but flowing with it. When the song ended, she excused herself politely, not ready for whatever came next in that interaction. On the balcony, city lights twinkled below. Daniela breathed in cold December air, grounding herself in the moment. Real. All of this was real. There you are. Rachel joined her, coat draped over her shoulders. Hiding? Reflecting. On? Everything. Did you know it's been exactly 2 years since you lent me your clothes? I did, actually. I brought you something. She handed Daniela a small wrapped box. Inside, a delicate necklace, a silver phoenix. Rising from ashes, Rachel fastened it around Daniela's neck. Seemed appropriate. It's perfect. They stood together, watching the city pulse with life below. Somewhere out there, someone else was facing their own catastrophe, their own moment of desperate decision. Daniela hoped they'd find their truth the way she'd found hers. Ready to go back in? Rachel asked. In a minute. Daniela touched the phoenix pendant, feeling its weight against her chest. She thought about Jamie, grateful for his failures that had cleared the path for her emergence. That version of herself had carried her as far as he could, then stepped aside for truth to bloom. Her phone buzzed, a text from her team about Monday's client schedule. Normal life interrupting reflection, pulling her back to the present she'd built with careful determination. Actually, yes. She linked arms with Rachel. Let's go back. The party continued inside, warm and bright. Daniela moved through it with easy confidence, greeting colleagues, discussing cases, being herself without question or qualifier. The burgundy dress swished as she walked. The blonde hair she'd grown with patience caught the light. Later, home in her apartment, she hung the dress carefully in a closet full of clothes that told her story. Professional blazers in gray and navy and black, blouses in every shade of pink and cream, skirts that had taught her to move differently in the world. And now expanding beyond work, casual clothes, exercise wear, the beginnings of a life lived fully. The phoenix necklace went on her dresser, next to the jewelry box that had grown with small additions. Tomorrow was Saturday. She had plans with Maria, a yoga class in the afternoon, dinner with a book club friend, a life. But tonight, she sat at her window, looking out at the city that had witnessed her becoming. Ago, she'd been broke and desperate, willing to try anything to survive. That desperation had cracked her open, let truth spill out like light through a prism. Daniela Morrison went to bed grateful for failures that became beginnings, for sisters who saw possibility, for firms that hired the person she pretended to be and kept the person she became, for hormones that rewrote her body's story, for legal documents that confirmed her chosen name. Most of all, for the moment of putting on that first gray blazer and discovering it had always been hers to wear. The next morning brought no work clothes to choose, no schedule to maintain, just weekend freedom in the life she'd built. Daniela woke slowly, stretched in bed, felt the pleasant weight of her hair spread across the pillow. Coffee in her favorite mug, the one Maria had given her that said "Boss Lady" in cursive script. She'd laughed when she opened it, but it wasn't wrong. She was managing a team, building a department, creating her own small empire within Patterson and Associates. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Is this Daniela Morrison? Yes. My name's Patricia Williams. I'm the managing partner at Williams, Chen and Associates. I've heard remarkable things about your client relations work. Thank you. How can I help you? We're expanding our firm. I'd like to discuss the possibility of you joining us as Director of Client Services. Daniela set down her coffee carefully. A headhunting call. Someone wanted to poach her from Patterson. I'm flattered, but I'm quite happy where I am. Of course. But would you consider meeting for coffee, just to discuss possibilities? She agreed to meet the following week, more from curiosity than real interest, but it felt good to be wanted, to be seen as valuable enough to steal. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other socials if you want more content, early access, behind the scenes, and more. All links down below.